In today's brief insight of current affairs, I'll be discussing the G7 summit, how it reaffirms a bipolar world and the role of emerging China. Few days back, G7 summit was held in Cornwall, England. And those of you who do not know what G7 is a group of 7 most advanced economic countries of the world, which includes US, UK, Canada, etc. And this year, although the G7 summit seemed like any other summit of the world, but there was an element which shows and which speaks for the contemporary world order and which shows that the world we are living in is actually a bipolar world. And it also shows that China has emerged as a global world power. The G7 leaders are all set to rival China by introducing a platform, a program through which they'll support the underdeveloped and middle developed economies by supporting their infrastructural needs. And in fact, President Biden of the US has unveiled a plan known as the B3W, which is Build Back Better World. And through this, the G7 country will be effectively coming on the field, rivaling China and providing the respective countries with infrastructural needs. And as per the critics, the US's B3W plan will be a better and higher quality alternative to China's BRI, which is the Belt Road Initiative. In fact, at a press briefing by the G7 leaders, they have reiterated that the G7 policy will be value-driven, transparent, as well as providing better value for the countries around the world. And this seems to be a direct criticism on China's BRI, because if you see US's statement, especially the statement of Alice Wells, that China is adopting a debt trap policy which is morally not right. And G7 seems to be using that as to their benefit and providing a better value on the face of it. Because US has been accusing China of using debt trap diplomacy in undermining the economies of the developing world and then effectively taking control of their resources. Like recently we have seen that China took control of various ports in Sri Lanka and Africa, and US seems to be quite critical of that alongside other G7 countries. Let me explain you briefly what the BRI is. So BRI stands for the Belt Road Initiative, and through which China aims to connect main parts of China to that of Europe and Southeast Asia. And throughout the countries through which BRI passes, China aims to develop those countries with regards to its infrastructure and economy. The flagship project of BRI is CPEC, which is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And we have witnessed that through CPEC, Pakistan is developing its infrastructure, its power plants, as well as its railways through the help of China. And China aims to do the very same for its entire BRI. I'll be covering BRI and CPEC in quite a lot detail in future videos, but today I'm just giving you a brief gist of it. US seems to be very much critical of BRI and CPEC because it believes that instead of helping those respective countries, China is putting them into a debt trap which will only go to the benefit of China, and China will use that to dominate and hegemon that respective country with regards to its foreign policy as well as its local economy. So US has been very critical of that. And recently we have not just seen that US is critical of China's plan, but it has also unveiled its B3W program for developing and middle developed economies along with other G7 countries. Interestingly, China didn't come slow on the International Global Forum to rebut the assertions and claim of the G7 countries. And immediately after, the Chinese embassy in London issued a statement in which they said that gone are the days when a few handful of countries used to decide the fate and governance of the world. But now it's the time that every country has a say on how the world should be governed. And this is quite important because this is one of the first times in the contemporary history that China has outrightly stood in front of the G7 countries and said that you are no longer the global dominant power who will decide the fate. And in fact, we all should have a say in it. And this shows that China is effectively believing that the world we are living in is a bipolar world, and it stood out not just to the US but to the 7 most advanced economies of the world. And this is quite interesting because we have seen that this is virtually the first time that China came on the diplomatic forum and challenged the world's most highest forum, unofficially or diplomatically, which is the G7. So in context of this statement, the global political arena seems very much furious and very much intense, especially in the near future, because we have seen B3W and then BRI coming up face to face and helping the developed and developing nations. And this seems quite interesting, and it seems that we have officially entered into the new Cold War era between the US and China. And there's a contemporary question that what should be the policy options for Pakistan? And I'll be covering this very topic in my upcoming videos, that what should Pakistan do, especially during the altercations or heated arguments between the US and China, because Pakistan is a strategically important country for both. In the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to inbox or comment down below. Thank you very much.